Hi, my name's Phil.
And my name is Rob.
And we've been mates for years. We've done loads of stuff together.
All of which, mainly, have turned into chaos.
But someone then suggested, why don't you do a podcast? That seemed like a good idea, didn't it?
Really did.
Then we realised neither of us have ever done one of those. So is this going to work?
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
Welcome to Two Pastors in a Pod. So, welcome to another Two Pastors in the Pod with me and Rob.
Have we started?
We have started. You'd be surprised. Now, one of the things about Rob, now we've got a guest.
Oh, here we go.
We have got a guest, and Rob's going to introduce him in a minute. But one of the things about Rob, you know, we love you. Well, we like you. And ultimately, one of the things that you have got,
Yes, dear.
in your arsenal of lots of things,
Yes, dear.
is you're not exactly a quiet man, are you?
That, and they will know, that is the pot calling the kettle black.
Anyway, you can talk for England.
Before you go off on one, on your little intro.
Okay.
On there. So this is my friend again. He never gets any friends on here. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I'm his only mate.
You do realise the last podcast we did on Friends.
It gets me on every, it gets me on every time. But no, we've had a few guests, haven't we? And we have another today.
We certainly have.
You know what, mate?
What?
We are in company today.
Are we?
This is Dr. David.
Dr. David. Oh, what kind of are you doctoring in?
Go on, Dave. What's your doctor?
Engineering.
He's an engineering. He's
right, so the
It's
rash.
a medical one. Not, so if you've got a rash.
So the rash I've got just
Yeah,
down
don't
there.
worry about that. Yeah, don't
that's
worry.
not
Not that type of thing.
So, as I was going to say, do you practice as a doctor? So me and Rob.
All the time.
Oh no, hang on, Rob. I went for the letters before the name. I found that a lot easier than the name.
Well, I've actually got Dip Eng after my name.
Well, you need to see a doctor for that.
And not Dipstick. Not Dipstick, but Dip Eng. Anyway, let's move on.
So
David is our guest today.
Call me Dave.
Dave. So, Dave,
Dave.
just tell us a little bit about where you're from, what your kind of background is, other than obviously very intelligent.
Right. Originally born in Bolton.
Right, good.
5
So you're
years-
not a Scouser.
Well, he's
5 years old.
He's got
did move
accent.
over.
Okay, good.
Did move over. And then sort of brought up in a religious home.
Yep.
18, I met a real Christian when I was working on the shop floor in a chemical factory.
There you go.
And went along to the youth club at that church because I thought there might be some nice young ladies.
Right,
at church,
okay, yeah.
So always the women's fault.
And heard the gospel for the very first time.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Never heard it preached like that.
Did it affect you on the first time, or did you have to hear it a few times?
Well, I like the fact that the people welcomed, were very welcoming. There was lots of young people there, Scousers.
Nice ladies.
Yeah, some nice
Yeah,
ladies.
good.
My wife came along a couple of years later, but
Oh, so
That's
it
a
wasn't Debbie then that you met? Who took you to the...
So hang on. So let's just check.
Whoa,
Let's
let's get
just
back-
check this. You said there were some very nice ladies there, and then your wife turned up.
I kept going along.
All right.
And
Okay.
then
There we go. Move on.
She got brought by a completely different person on that.
Right.
But anyway, so there you go. So yeah, anyway, I carried on going back, and then I gave my life to Christ when I
Amen.
was about 18.
Yeah.
And kept going along. And then, like I say, this young lady, Debbie, turned up one day from her secretarial college. And
That was it?
After a few years, that was it.
The
Yeah.
rest is history.
The rest is history, as they say.
So how long have you been
Podcast.
married?
43 years.
I'll tell you what, that was close. That was
43 years. It's not
Oh,
44,
dear.
43.
So pretty much all your Christian life, though, I've known you for, probably
yeah.
30 years or so.
Yeah.
I've always known you to be someone who speaks up for the faith.
Yeah.
I've always known you. I've known you obviously as long as Rob, but I've always known you as somebody who just speaks.
Mouth on,
Quite a bit.
mouth on legs. as
Your
they
mouth
say.
on legs,
Just the
just
polite
bring-
version
Yeah,
to the
He's in
Scouse
good
version.
company with you today, isn't he?
Is that right?
Anyway, how are you going to do the segue into the tea before
Well,
we go
funny
into the
enough,
nitty gritty?
We are getting onto the nitty gritty because the subject of our podcast is freedom of speech.
Yes.
Now, one of the greatest places for that, you go down and be down quite regularly to London. What's the name of where you've been? We'll talk a little bit more about where it is.
Well, there's
what
a
is it?
pretty unique venue in London. It's by Marble Arch. It's on the corner of Hyde Park and it's called Speaker's Corner.
Okay.
It's probably known.
So Speaker's Corner, anybody can get up on a soapbox.
Yeah.
A comedian, politician, religious
Yeah.
preacher,
Yeah.
anarchist, They can all get up.
Yeah, it's designated by an Act of Parliament in the 1800s where you can, and it's always been that, but it was sufficiently recognised, and yeah, you can take your soapbox down there, whatever one of them is,
Yeah.
or your milk tray, or your little ladders, and then
Oh,
you
so
can get
that's
up.
right. It has to be a box or a ladder, isn't it? That's what
Well, I
kind
don't
of
know.
what.
Oh, you can stand, and you stand on the floor.
Under the law,
Yeah.
I think the original law only says you could have a box or a ladder,
Oh, I don't know.
and in my case, it'd have to be quite.
Oh,
big.
Yeah,
yeah,
it has to be a
Yes,
big
I thought
ladder.
I'd say it
You
before.
need a very big ladder.
Why did they designate that in London? What was the
Well,
kind of background?
I mean, the background to the location is not very far away from the site now. Was what you call Tyburn, which is where they used to execute people.
Yeah.
And they reckoned they executed about 50,000 people at Tyburn, and it was a big public spectacle. They had seating like a gallery.
Yeah.
You know, you can imagine that. And the condemned person got a chance to say something to the gathering crowd before they were departed.
Oh, so that's how the tradition started. They could publicly
Yeah,
speak
yeah,
before.
yeah.
but then
before
it got slightly out of hand,
Then
didn't it?
and then
And the
it
government
got
had to
riots,
pass an act, the 1872 Parks Act or whatever it
And
was.
it's a royal park.
Yeah.
It's a royal park. You can't give out leaflets in the park. It's
No.
Corner, no. But yeah, you can go down there and you can speak, and people.
And have you actually got on a box and done it?
Oh yeah, I've done it a few times. Yeah.
Have you? Well,
Well, you
we'll
know,
talk
you've got
about that in a
Lenin, you've
minute.
got Karl Marx, you've got George Orwell. You know, lots of.
So lots of famous names have stood
Yeah.
where you stood. So we're kind of developed. But funny enough, yesterday in fact, I was only a few hundred yards from Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I visited one of the best well-known Japanese tea shops.
Right.
Oh, here we go.
It's tea shops. Now,
This is
That's
the
the cue. That's the segue.
there are other
That's the
tea
segue.
shops, but this is TWG. Now, TWG is
I thought it was a telly brand.
incredibly expensive.
Oh.
Incredibly expensive.
What's the hurt you?
So I went in and I said to them, "Can I have some tea for a podcast we're doing?" And they didn't offer it to me free.
Right.
I said to the young fella there, who, if you're watching, he promised he would. You were brilliant, really helpful.
Yeah.
I said, "Give me something which is your most unusual." So he got this tin out and he popped the lid and he went, "Smell that." And I smelled it. He said, "What do you think of that?" I said, "Well, it smells okay."
Yeah.
He said, "It's a Japanese tea." I said, "All right." He said, "Now 50 grams. The smallest they sell is 50 grams, which is about that size. How much do you think? How much do you think this first tin he tried for 50 grams?
It's obviously very expensive, isn't it? Go on.
30 quid.
750 quid." And I went, "Yeah, we're not doing that on our podcast." So we whittled
You
it
try
down.
them, haven't you? Some
Only, in,
yeah.
only in London.
We whittled it down a little bit to this. This was still 11 quid.
You paid that.
Yes.
Wow.
No, there's no way.
Yes,
there's no
you claim
way
on
you
an
paid
expenses?
£11.
I'm about to tell the treasurer. But 11 quid for 50 grams. Okay. Next podcast, if you're watching the next podcast, I got a sample free of something else, which I'll tell you
What,
next
the
time.
750 quid one?
No, one close though. So this one's a special one.
Okay.
It's a Japanese tea. It's a black tea.
You get sushi with it.
No, I'm hoping it's brewed enough. Now you're a bit of a tea man, aren't you? Don't
No.
you? Don't. Oh,
I'm just a Yorkshire tea.
I'll be.
Yorkshire tea one.
I'm going to convince you that Yorkshire tea's not the way to go. So you got to smell it, have a sniff, see what you think. I'll tell you the name of it. Okay, it is called.
Let's go.
Oh.
So
Vanilla.
this
Yeah,
is
vanilla.
called Realms of Heaven.
Realms of Heaven.
Realms of Heaven. That's why I bought this particular brew, Realms of Heaven. Good advert for TWG. So it's an infusion. What do you
What?
think's in it?
Do you know what? It smells better than it tastes.
Does it? I haven't tasted it yet.
Taste it. There's like, it's quite bitter.
Well, that's all right. That's not bad.
It's not sweet enough.
Okay, so you'll like the next one I'm going to do then. So
Actually, that's not too bad.
right, so what do you reckon's in it? You won't get it.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Yeah, it's got soft vanilla, gentle spices apparently. Don't read my description.
Raw fish.
No, it's black tea.
It's Japanese, isn't it?
With stone fruits. Now, I've got to be honest, I did have to look up stone fruits, thinking, what's a stone fruit? Is it a fruit that's been on the drugs?
Yeah.
And it's got stone. No, stone fruits. You can put anything in it. It's got peaches. It's got cherries.
see,
It's
right,
got
yeah.
Any fruit,
Yeah,
apricot.
that's got-
So it's got apricot in it. So what do you reckon? According to the advert,
Don't like it.
it is uplifting hint of paradise.
I don't feel uplifted, and I've got no sense of paradise.
So really, you don't like that?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's better than I thought it was going to be.
So what would you give it?
I was really panicking what you're going to give us. It was like,
What would you give it?
4.
4? Is it that bad?
It was 11 quid, so it's definitely a 4. 11 quid for that, you've been done,
what's
mate.
the best one you've ever had? That's
So
tasted.
far, we had a caramel one.
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, we had a
I know
caramel one. That was a loose tea as well.
I've scored 8 or 9. Anyway, we need to move on. Come on.
Right, okay, what do you give it, Dave?
I'll give it a 6.
You see, I would give that a 7. That's all right.
Okay.
You'll like the next one. So that's a 7. Get down to London, just round the corner
From Speaker's Corner.
Speaker's Corner.
Got a question for
Yeah,
you.
come on.
Definition of freedom of speech. No, I actually did some research for this.
Okay, that makes
I'd
sense.
say 2.
From some human rights organisation, European
Yeah.
Human Rights, it says this:
Oh, yes.
freedom of speech, the right to express opinions without censorship, restraint, or legal penalty, while respecting the rights and safety of others. So the big question for us is that the case in the UK anymore?
I think that's a really difficult question. I would say there's a difference between freedom of speech for Christians and freedom of speech for secular kind of society. I think what the secular world considers as free speech is literally you can say anything. And I think the rule at Speaker's Corner is as long as it doesn't incite violence, you can say what you like. And I think that is different to what the biblical definition of free speech is.
So when you get up at Speaker's
Yeah.
Corner and you get to do your slot, what's it like? Let's use a modern word. What's the vibe like?
Right.
What do people say to you?
So-
do you get heckled? How does it? Just give up the audience an idea of what it's like to actually
Right.
speak
So
and the
basic-
feedback that you
yeah.
get.
So
Are you
tend
respected?
to go with a team, maybe about, between, 70 and 90 people when I've done it in the past.
What is that, a protection team, is it?
No, it's just all keen people who want to go.
Oh,
down
right,
and,
okay,
do it.
right.
Yeah. That comes later on.
Right.
Normally, from Monday to Saturday, there's nobody there. It really is very
Really?
quiet. Yeah. You can. There won't be many people
Flipping busy yesterday.
speaking.
Right.
That's our experience. Sunday afternoon, that is the time when people go down there, and
Okay.
there's crowds and crowds of people on a Sunday afternoon, and you'll have the politicians, you'll have other faiths stirred as well as Christian.
Okay, yeah.
Big crowds, and people flock down to see the spectacle because it's pretty unique in the world, I believe, that you can just get up on your soapbox and you can talk about anything you want to.
I've got to ask a
Go
question
on.
because it's been years since I've been here.
Yeah.
Are the speakers any good? Never mind what their subjects are they any good at what they do?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I've only ever heard our team speaking.
Right, so you never listen to any of the other guys just to see whether they're
I've listened to a
engaging or
couple.
funny or...
There are some that rant,
Yeah, yeah.
rave. There are some that are very, they just talk very graciously. But I've never heard of sort of Winston Churchill's type
Right,
of oratory or anything like that.
that's a show.
So you get up to speak.
Yeah,
There's a crowd around.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like to do that? And what is the reaction
right.
of the crowd?
You do get a Speaker's Corner, I would say, professional hecklers.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they just come down on a Sunday afternoon,
Have a bit of fun.
to have a bit of banter, and to basically pick on people. And one guy, I was trying to do a talk. They're all generally at the front, giving you, covering you with spittle as they sort of like laugh at you, and you have to preach over their head. And you're trying to do a gospel Christian
Yeah.
talk and be sincere and that, and you've got,
Do you ever engage with the heckler?
not often, no. Otherwise, they'll
It's a
get you off
distraction.
topic. They'll take you down, and might go and talk later. But if you've been there year after year, you can recognise some.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I once did this talk, and then I stepped down. And I had to chat to this fellow. I said, "Look, why don't you go and just talk to some of these other folks over there in that faith group or those politicians?" And he says, "Well," he said, "to be honest," he said, "they they probably barrack me if I went over there and did what I do to you. He said, and then put folks over there. They might even punch me. He said, the worst you Christians would do, pray for me. and
I think that's a good witness.
And I had to say, well, I can't disagree with you.
That's a good witness.
And you get lots of different groups, big variety.
Yeah.
People who've been there year after year after year. I mean, every Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and there's lots of, when we were there one time, it's big Ukrainian support rallies. So lots of rallies will come through the Royal Park, Hyde Park. It's a big gathering place for groups of whatever, a particular cause or something. But yeah, but the great thing is you get lots of tourists.
Yeah.
And you can talk to people.
See, the thing is, that's unique.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, a Speaker's Corner, absolutely unique. I think the problem for the Christian is, would you ever do that? I've done open air stuff, but
I've done open air.
I've not done Speaker's Corner.
I've stood alongside this fella. I think you were in Crewe, and I know you've.
Oh yeah.
You also go to Chester, so you don't just do Speaker's Corner.
No.
You do other places. Well, my question for you is why?
Why?
Why do you stand up in front of a often hostile crowd and proclaim?
I had a pasty thrown at me in Crewe.
A pasty?
Pasty?
Was it a Greg's?
It must have been, because Greg's was just down the road. Yeah, but it fell short. If it had come all the way, it was fresh. The fella hadn't touched it.
Yeah.
It was doing it on the floor.
I would have picked that
I
up.
was half.
Do you know how much I need that to keep going for the next half an hour?
But
Yeah, go on.
I don't know. The Lord has given me a burden and probably a big mouth as well,
But
to get out and talk to people about the Lord. And people generally don't come into the church buildings anymore, so we sort of follow the pattern of getting out and.
Isn't the scriptural principle though that we're supposed to be bold as Christians and be out there? I mean, you've got in Acts there you've got Peter and John refusing to stop speaking about Jesus because they are bold at doing that.
Yeah, well, that's it. Peter and John, they in Acts chapter 4, isn't it? I think it's verse 20, where they said, they could have been executed as a result of saying this, but they said, we cannot help but speak of what we've seen and heard.
Yeah.
And as Christians, we too, they had seen it with their actual eyes, but we see it with the eyes of faith. We believe what we believe about Jesus. We believe that he's the Son of God. We believe that he did everything that he came to do. He walked on water. He healed the sick. We believe that he went to the cross and paid the price for our sins. We believe that he rose again, and we believe that he's going to come back one day. We haven't seen it with these, but we know it in our heart, and we're exactly the same. We cannot help but speak of what we've seen and heard. And David, full title, Dr. David, he likes to get out there and tell them.
But here's the question. Your original question was, is free speech still available in the UK? I think the answer is yes. I think from my perspective, it's the fact that certain areas of our society, certain religions, certain lifestyles are far more vocally acceptable than Christianity. I think if you look at the media, I think if you look at other things, then if you speak out of turn about certain other areas of our society or other groups within our society, then I think you're in trouble as a Christian. Whereas I think if the reverse happens, I don't think it has the same effect.
Well, we pick up the papers and the secular papers every single day, and don't we? And we read of Christians who've just verbalised what they believe about a certain subject based on their understanding of the Bible, and because they verbalise that, then they get penalised and sometimes imprisoned.
So when did you last hear about other religious groups or other lifestyle groups being imprisoned for saying that they do not accept what the Christian faith said? In fact, that the Christian faith is bigoted, that it's homophobic, that it is false. I mean, there are certain areas that can say that very publicly. Could you say that at Speaker's Corner? Are you allowed to say that at Speaker's Corner? Because freedom of speech, as far as I understand it in the secular circles, is you can say whatever you like. I mean, that was one of the things you talked off air, we were talking about Rowan Atkinson. That in comedy, you should be able to say whatever you like. And if you don't like it, don't listen. Is that the case?
Well, at Speaker's Corner, we generally go there and preach the gospel.
Yeah.
You've got people for such a short time.
So you're not trying to pick a fight.
We're not trying to pick a fight. Sad, and with it, you only get people for a short attention span. But there are times when people might ask a question, and you generally would deal with that
Yeah.
offline.
Yeah.
You don't want to debate that in a to be wise. You want
But for you, it's about tolerance. Isn't it?
tolerance, isn't it? Yeah.
So you've got to
Yeah.
think about the definition of tolerance, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think tolerance is people talk about tolerance and the ability to be offended. And years ago, and we've been around long enough that you could say these
He's
things.
just had a big birthday, hasn't he?
As he has.
Yeah.
It doesn't look a day over 70 though.
Shut it.
Yeah, and
Excuse me. Don't try to shut him down.
Oh, sorry. No, you carry on. You talk.
This is all about freedom of speech.
Say whatever you like.
it's got the cancel culture. We've got tolerance. It seems that people. Oh, what can you say? It's sort of as long as you agree with me,
Yeah.
you can be my friend. But if you actually don't fully agree with me, this idea of disagree by all means, but don't be disagreeable. That sort of.
So Colossians 4:6. Colossians 4:6 that we have to use and speak with graciously, seasoned with salt. Ephesians 4:29. You've got all those passages that avoid corruptive talk and so on. The problem is, if we are boldly proclaiming Christ to an audience that does not want that and wants to react to that, are we not in danger then of bringing the gospel and presenting it as pearls before swine? This is only here because we're not actually expecting anybody to respond to the gospel there and then.
Yeah. Well, you talked about other faiths, other lifestyles. Yeah, you could mention that. I've never, in all the years I've been doing this, not just in Down Speaks, had a direct question from somebody.
Yeah.
But I have had lots of times questions when I've stepped down and somebody said, "Can I ask you a question about this?" And we've spent, opened the Bible and said, "Well, this is, Romans 1."
Yeah.
It said, this is what the Bible teaches about X, Y, and Z. Yeah. It's not my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's important when you're presenting the gospel in the, is to say, look, it's not my opinion. It's what the fundamental Christian teaching is and has been for millennium.
As Christians, we must surely value freedom of speech. Now, if we value freedom of speech, we have to expect that there are going to be those who are going to be offensive towards us.
We're carrying on from that quoted from Acts with Peter and John. So they were released and told never to speak about Jesus again, but obviously they did. And when they went to the house where people were praying for him, what did they pray?
Yeah.
They prayed for, I think it's verse 29 in Acts chapter 4, they prayed for courage to speak out boldly. They didn't pray that the people who were oppressing them and persecuting them would be taken away. They prayed for courage to speak boldly in the face of opposition. And I think, we as a nation, as Christians in this nation, we have to keep praying that we would have the courage to speak when we know it's right to speak. I think there is a time to be silent. Yeah. And Ecclesiastes says that's a time to be silent and a time to speak. And you have to discern that. And it is a case of sometimes it's pearls before swine. But also, we're commissioned, aren't we? Yeah. To get out there with the gospel, go and tell them about me. And that will involve persecution. All the disciples, bar one, they were martyred because they spoke about Jesus.
But should we be those? I mean, John Milton was a kind of a Christian thinker. I mean, John Milton, in Protection Against Tyranny, one of the articles that he wrote, he said this. He urged that suppressing freedom of speech leads to corruption and the prevention of truth. So as Christians, we should promote freedom of speech. However, that surely needs to be across the board. If freedom of speech is to be free, I need to be free to say what I believe the Bible says about certain areas of our society, just as those areas of societies and other world religions are able to say that about Christianity. Yeah. But that seems to be an imbalance. I mean, there's going to be people listening to this podcast going, well, okay, so we've heard about the Bible, we've heard about Speaker's Corner. Kids at school. So we had a kid in our congregation not that long ago who got pulled to one side because they'd been overheard. They weren't standing on a soapbox. They were overheard discussing an area of society that they didn't agree with. And they were pulled in to say, well, that's offensive to other people, you can't say that. To me, that borders on censorship within our own schools.
But should we expect this? I think we
Yeah,
should
well,
expect
we
it.
should.
So you look at it. So as a church,
Yeah, yeah.
we sponsor an organisation, a Christian radio organisation that goes into countries where there is absolutely no freedom of speech whatsoever.
yeah.
We have a level of freedom of speech here
Well,
which is all the time being chipped away at.
Yeah,
So we have
a lot of freedom.
there are countries where you can't say anything,
Yeah.
and these people that they go into the country and it's brilliant that they do that, but we are heading towards even more oppression, I think. And I think in the last days, whenever they are, and I don't want to get into that debate right now, in the last days, it is going to get worse.
Yeah.
It is. And we know that we will be more and more oppressed and more subjugated in society. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think...
So you've been doing this for how many years?
Well, since it was about 20.
Since Adam was alive.
20, for over 40 years.
Yeah. So have you seen a change?
I think people are far more vocal now to sort of say what they think.
Yeah.
I think in my previous years, they might have sort of like looked at you or sworn at you or thrown a pasty at you and muttered something under the breath. People are, I've had quite a few times, and the other people that come out with me, guys and girls, and people shout at you, you shouldn't have the right to say that.
Yeah.
And all we're talking about is the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Don't lie, don't steal, don't commit adultery. Well, it's not.
But freedom of speech is always going to be a double-edged sword.
Well,
It's always going to be a double-edged sword.
But it's back to that definition that I said. That guy is saying you shouldn't have the right to say that. But actually, the definition from the human rights organization is the right to express opinions without censorship, without restraint or legal penalty, while respecting the rights and the safety.
So how comes that is not being seen? I mean, I do feel sorry for our law enforcement, for our police.
Yeah.
They have got very grey areas here.
Yes. Yeah.
I think they're under increasing pressure from all sorts of different angles.
I agree.
So what do we do as Christians? We've got to preach the gospel. We're going to preach that in church anyway. We want to preach. We should be able to preach that out in public. Yeah. My slight concern is that there will be those who will go out to look for a fight.
Yeah, well, that's not...
Than, they will turn up outside certain other places of worship. They will turn up outside certain clubs and they will preach there, where I'm not sure that is what we as Christians should be doing in terms of free speech.
There's lots of areas where you can get out on the streets.
Yeah.
And it's not just on the streets, it's, in cafe or any public space. You don't have to go, like you say, and stand outside the, I've heard of one fella in America who stood outside the court of law while the people were queuing up to go in and get charged or sentenced anything. Well, that's more like a prophet of doom type. There's always people out there to talk to.
Yeah.
And the reason that it keeps me going is we've seen people change because of it.
Yeah, and that's
the key.
We've had letters.
That's the why.
We get letters saying, I believe you had, the team was out in Chester and they spoke to me and a lady spoke to me and my life has changed. I now moved
That's
away.
the point of what we're doing.
And that's what keeps you going.
You're not there to win an argument.
No, brother, no.
You're there to win souls.
But here's another question. Years ago, I can't even remember whether we were working together, but there was a play on in London, and it was a play that showed Jesus Christ dressed in the nappy.
Yes, that's David Soul.
Now, I took on a discussion on our local radio station with regard to that, with the presenter, because I thought that was offensive. Was I wrong to do that? Because freedom of speech surely says, well, no, you can do that, provided I can talk and be offensive about other religions. That's absolutely fine. Was that wrong to say, I find that offensive, this is why I find it offensive?
No. Because you're
Absolutely.
coming at it from a Christian perspective. I think we were talking in the car on the way over. I think everything has to have you have to introduce yourself as someone who believes the Bible, and this is what the Bible says.
Yeah.
When you're in a public sphere,
this is not a public.
I
a personal-
wholeheartedly believe this from my Christian faith, and you're coming from that perspective. So I think you're right. You're right to speak up, but again, you just got to be sensitive.
Yeah.
So why are you speaking up in that moment?
That's the question.
Are you speaking to win an argument, or are you speaking to win a soul?
And I wonder sometimes whether some of our personalities, obviously not my personality, but some people's personalities would want to get into a fight and win an argument.
You've seen it really badly
you've
done.
seen that.
I've seen it really, really badly done.
But that's not what I
And
mean.
you're like,
In Shrewsbury, the other week, standing there, was listening to a guy preaching.
right.
There was no intention that he wanted anybody there to come
Oh,
to
right.
Christ.
He just wanted to.
That they were just, there was a group there just saying, you're all going to hell. But I was sitting there waiting for, and where's the next bit?
There's a phrase it says, when it says the Lord preached, he said, the crowd heard him gladly. And I think your manner,
That's a really important thing.
your manner in which you do this,
Yeah.
we were talking about the soft answer turns away wrath.
Yeah.
It's about being gracious. It's about speaking the truth and saying, well, this is what the Bible says, and it's difficult to hear, offends our pride and all sorts of. But the manner in which you do it, you be gracious and wise and
Our time is
and
really slipped away.
natural. That's the other thing.
So what would you say as we close, Dave? What would you say to encourage anyone out there who's listening to actually get up there and don't be afraid to speak? What would you say to try and encourage folk to share what they're called to share, which is their faith?
I think what a lot of people who are new to this area, certainly street evangelism, which is what I have a passion for, is they worry they won't have the answers to questions that people. And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
That is absolutely okay.
Yeah.
And I know Roger Carswell, who's
He's been on one of our pods.
Roger Dodger's been on it. He's right. There's probably about 12 or 13 questions that have been asked the same questions, suffering and death and all this. But I would say to people, don't worry about what might happen. Just speak naturally, and if people know you, rather than maybe a calling on the street corner, if they know you, they'll see it in your life.
Yeah.
They'll have seen it in your life.
People will know that.
They'll have seen it in your behaviour, your speech, and just say, look, all of the reason this is because I'm a Christian. Christ has changed my life, and
So if a final question.
Final question.
Final question, because we have overrun on this.
it's okay.
But if it became an arrestable offence for you in the future to go to Speaker's Corner, where would you stand on that?
You'd have to go, wouldn't you?
Well, one, you'd have to go, and two, all the more reason we as Christians should support and defend free speech in our country.
Yeah.
Amen.
So, thank you for listening.
I'd just like to say,
what?
I would visit him in prison.
No, well,
Please don't ask people.
well, we love hearing from you here on Two Pastors in a Pod. We'd love you to catch up. This is number 29, we think.
29.
Wow.
So you can, Rob, where can you get the podcast?
Yeah, all over the place. You have freedom to find it wherever on the internet, and you have freedom to actually email into us, don't you?
Yeah, we love
tell us
hearing
what
from
you think.
We love hearing from you. Get our podcasts on Apple Play or on YouTube, even on your smart telly these days. You can manage to catch us. Thanks for joining us. It's been great. Dave, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome, guys.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. Do you want another cup of tea?
No.
See you then.